Here's something that'll mess with your head. The people who get promoted fastest in Silicon Valley aren't the loudest self-promoters. They're not the ones dominating every meeting or taking credit for everything. They're the humble ones, the respectful ones, the helpful ones. Today, we're diving into 3 core human qualities that sound soft but are actually psychological superpowers: respect, humility, and helpfulness. You'll discover why these traits are misunderstood, how they literally rewire your brain for success, and practical ways to develop them without becoming a pushover. Let me bring in someone who spent years studying what makes humans truly effective.
You know what's fascinating? Most people think humility means being meek or self-deprecating, but psychological research shows it's actually the opposite. According to studies from Hope College and Georgia State University, humility is characterized by an accurate, non-defensive awareness of your strengths and weaknesses. It's not about thinking less of yourself, it's about thinking about yourself less.
Wait, thinking about yourself less? That sounds almost counterintuitive in a world where we're told to focus on personal branding and self-promotion.
Exactly. And that's where the magic happens. When you're not constantly defending your ego or trying to prove how smart you are, you become incredibly effective. The research shows humble people are more open to new information, better at perspective taking, and way more collaborative.
So it's like when you stop trying so hard to look good, you actually become better?
Precisely. And this connects directly to respect. According to neuroscience research from UC San Francisco, respect is a fundamental human value that refers to the consideration and admiration we show for ourselves, others, and our environment. But here's the key. Respect motivates people to validate and acknowledge the feelings of others.
Okay, so we're talking about respect as more than just being polite. It's actually about validation and acknowledgement.
Right. And the research shows there's a bidirectional relationship between respect and empathy. When you respect others, you're more likely to feel empathy for them. And when people feel respected by you, they express their emotions more openly, which creates this beautiful cycle of connection.
That's incredible. So respect literally creates better emotional connections between people.
Exactly. And then there's helpfulness, which ties into what Harvard researcher Todd Rose discovered. He analyzed one of the most extensive datasets on what people truly value and found that across every demographic, community engagement is a top 10 priority for meaningful life, yet it's also what people achieve the least.
Wow, so we all want to help and contribute, but we're somehow not doing it?
That's the paradox. Rose found that most of us crave purpose, contribution, growth, and authentic relationships. These aren't individualistic goals, they're relational ones. They reveal what he calls a shared yearning for mattering, the feeling that others value us and that we add value in return.
So helpfulness is really about mattering, about feeling like we contribute something meaningful.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. These 3 qualities don't just exist in isolation. They create this psychological cascade effect. When you develop one, it naturally cultivates the others.
A cascade effect? How does that work?
Well, think about it. When you're humble, you're more open to others' perspectives, which naturally leads to more respectful interactions. And when you respect others, you're more likely to want to help them. It's this beautiful interconnected system.
That makes so much sense. But let's get practical here. How do these qualities actually show up in real life, like in the workplace?
Great question. According to workplace research from WorkRight and Indeed, humility creates a culture of openness and collaboration. Humble employees are more likely to listen to others' ideas, value different perspectives, and be open to feedback. This leads to better solutions and greater creativity.
So instead of teams becoming siloed with everyone protecting their turf, humble people actually make teams work better.
Exactly. And the research shows this fosters trust, which is essential for effective teamwork. When people believe their ideas will be heard and respected, they contribute more openly. Plus, humble employees are more likely to admit when they don't know something and seek feedback.
Which, in industries where innovation is key, that willingness to learn is huge.
Absolutely. And respect in the workplace creates what researchers call psychological safety. According to the Leadership Circle research, when fear and judgment are minimized, employees feel empowered to express themselves authentically. This creates an environment where respect and trust can flourish.
So it's not just about being nice. These qualities actually create measurable business outcomes.
Exactly. The research shows workplaces with humility see more innovation, increased productivity, better communication, and reduced conflict. Humble people are generally better listeners, more willing to consider other viewpoints without jumping to conclusions.
And that probably makes them more approachable, which helps diffuse tension.
Precisely. In high-stakes environments, a humble approach is particularly beneficial. When people take time to understand different points of view, they're more likely to find common ground and resolve issues constructively.
Okay, but here's what I'm curious about. Are these qualities something we're born with, or can we actually develop them?
That's where the developmental research gets really fascinating. According to studies from Oxford Academic, intellectual humility can absolutely be developed, especially during adolescence when there's explosive change in intellectual, social, and civic development.
So there's actually a window where these qualities are more malleable?
Yes, but it's not limited to adolescence. Research from Notre Dame shows that humility is a developmental process shaped within social systems from the beginning of life. It emerges naturally from what they call beingness co-constructed by family and community.
So it's learned behavior that gets passed down through generations?
Exactly. When parents and caregivers are humble before the needs of children, providing what researchers call the evolved nest for raising young, it creates a cascade of long-term effects. But when a baby isn't treated with respect and empathy, their neurobiology develops towards self-protection.
Wait, so the way we're treated as babies actually affects our capacity for humility later in life?
According to the research, yes. When needs aren't met promptly, neurobiology develops in the direction of self-protection with what they call a caciostatic orientation, either dominance or submission toward others, which undermines capacities for humility.
That's wild. So these qualities are literally wired into our brains from early experiences.
And here's what's really interesting. The research identifies 4 layers of humility: intrapersonal, interpersonal, community, and ecological. It's not just about individual traits, but how we relate to ourselves, others, our communities, and even the environment.
4 layers? That sounds way more complex than just being humble.
Right. Intrapersonal humility is about being content with yourself, self-accepting, open, and self-knowledgeable. Interpersonal is being relationally attuned to others, emotionally present. Community humility means behaving as a fellow member, leaving resources for others. And ecological humility is about living with the bio-community in mind.
So it's this whole framework for how we exist in the world.
Exactly. And this connects to the cross-cultural research. Studies show that while the value of respect may be universal, its specific manifestations differ across cultures. The way respect influences the brain varies across different cultural contexts.
So these qualities are both universal and culturally specific at the same time?
That's right. According to the cross-cultural values research, we've seen major contributions to understanding similarities and differences across world regions in people's values, beliefs, and morality. But most studies have been dominated by Western approaches.
Which means we might be missing how these qualities show up in other cultures.
Exactly. The research calls for expanding to include studies locally developed within more countries and world regions. But what's fascinating is that despite cultural differences, the underlying human need for respect, humility, and helpfulness seems to be universal.
You know what strikes me about all this research? We've lost what Todd Rose calls the civic layer, those everyday spaces where people once connected and collaborated. Maybe that's why these qualities feel so rare now.
That's such an important point. The decline of local clubs, places of worship, and neighborhood groups has left many people isolated. We've lost not just social infrastructure, but psychological nourishment, the sense of purpose that comes from contribution.
So we're all scrolling through updates and staying digitally visible, but the kind of closeness that once grounded us in conversation, collaboration, and care has become harder to find.
Exactly. And this erosion of civic life shapes our psychological landscape. When people lose the chance to participate in meaningful community roles, they lose daily opportunities to feel that they matter. This gap between connection and contribution can quietly erode motivation, hope, and mental health.
But here's what gives me hope. The research shows these qualities can be developed. They're not fixed traits.
Absolutely. And according to the Foundation for Developing Compassion and Wisdom research, respect creates a safe space where individuals feel valued and heard. This positive environment fosters creativity, innovation, and a stronger sense of belonging.
And when people are respected, they're more likely to express their ideas openly and collaborate effectively.
Right. The research shows respect is the cornerstone of healthy, lasting relationships. It serves as the adhesive that binds people together. In intimate partnerships, respect forms the foundation of trust, communication, and emotional intimacy.
So these aren't just nice-to-have qualities. They're fundamental to human connection.
Exactly. And the research on inclusive communities shows that respect serves as a cornerstone, acting as a vital thread that weaves together diverse individuals into a cohesive social fabric. When respect is prioritized, people feel valued and acknowledged.
Which encourages them to contribute their unique perspectives and talents.
Right. This creates what researchers call a rich tapestry of ideas and experiences that can lead to innovative solutions and more vibrant community life. The presence of respect can significantly reduce instances of discrimination and prejudice.
Because when people are treated with dignity, they're more likely to reciprocate that treatment.
Exactly. It leads to a culture where differences are celebrated rather than marginalized. This mutual respect fosters an environment where everyone feels empowered to express themselves without fear of judgment or exclusion.
And that increases the potential for collaboration, because people are more willing to engage in dialogue and share their viewpoints.
Precisely. The research shows that respect lays the groundwork for a community where inclusivity isn't just an ideal, but a lived reality. It's about building trust and understanding that helps bridge differences and foster unity.
You know what's beautiful about this? These qualities create this upward spiral. The more you practice them, the more they reinforce each other.
That's exactly right. And according to the APA research, humility elevates our compassionate and empathic responses to others, which elevates morality and selflessness. Part of the social effectiveness of humility comes from being inspired by what they call heroically humble people.
Heroically humble people. I love that phrase. It captures how these qualities aren't weak at all.
Right. They're actually incredibly powerful. The research consistently shows that people with these qualities are more effective leaders, better collaborators, more innovative thinkers, and create stronger relationships.
So when you step back from all this research, here's what really strikes me. We're living in a time when these qualities feel rare, but they're exactly what we need most.
Absolutely. The research shows that respect, humility, and helpfulness aren't just individual virtues. They're the building blocks of healthy communities, effective organizations, and meaningful relationships. They're literally the foundation of human flourishing.
And the beautiful thing is, you don't need to wait for anyone else to start. You can begin developing these qualities today, in your next conversation, your next meeting, your next interaction with a stranger.
Exactly. Small acts of respect, moments of humility, simple gestures of helpfulness, they create ripple effects that extend far beyond what we can see. The research shows these behaviors are contagious in the best possible way.
Here's what I want you to remember from today. Those Silicon Valley leaders who get promoted fastest, they're not the loudest or most self-promoting. They're the ones who figured out that true strength comes from lifting others up, that real confidence comes from accurate self-awareness, and that lasting success comes from genuine contribution. These three qualities, respect, humility, and helpfulness, they're not soft skills. They're superpowers. And in a world that often feels divided and disconnected, they might just be the secret to building the kind of life and community we all actually want.